Hello, y'all. Let me see. I am going to bring y'all down just a little bit. Good evening, good evening. Good evening, good evening. What a day. I have been on the road for the last 4 hours. So this is a pressing moment, to say the least. So good evening, welcome, my R2C, my Real Resilient crew. Welcome to today's episode. It is Monday, and welcome to your end of the month fill up. I am so excited to have you. If you're alone, snuggled up, watching it live or on rebroadcast, I say thank you so much for taking the time out of your Monday evening to spend it with me. It means the world to me. So before I go on, let me introduce myself. I'm your host, Quita Quee. It is my sincere pleasure to welcome you to Real Resilient Conversations, where we go and we talk about quirky, unique topics, and we turn into ways and different perspectives on how to really identify with resiliency. And resiliency comes in so many different facets. And so I really wanted to introduce Real Resiliency and explain to you how and why we came to this point. So with that being said, I come every other Monday, so bi-weekly. We come on and I say, hey, this is the topic. How does this topic relate to resiliency? So if it is your first time, I say welcome. If it is your bi-weekly fill up, you're part of the committee, you part of the family, I say, hey y'all, hey, and tell me, what does today's show have to do with resiliency? So for those of you that do not know, today's topic is fall in line. So those that have been in the military or have been around people that have been in the military, you've probably heard that before. So whenever you've heard fall in line, you heard toe in the line, whenever you're hearing these different topics that sound similar, what do you think that means in respect to resiliency? Because resiliency, for those of you that don't know, is basically an opportunity for you to bounce back. So you have the opportunity to bounce back from life and life situations. And so what we do is I say, hey, do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe, whether it be for you or for someone else, so that way they can get the good news on how to become a more resilient person. If not for themselves, on how to be a resilient person in relationships, on how to raise children, all of that falls into resiliency. So without further ado, my bi-weekly returnees, it's time for your fill up. So come on, tell me what you think resiliency has to do with falling in line. So down in the chat, go ahead and put it in there and let me know, what do you think falling in line has to do with resiliency? And because those, usually whenever you're thinking about it, some people like, that doesn't even correlate in my mental cortex. Like, I don't even understand the words coming out of your mouth right now. That's okay. I'm going to break it down. We're going to give you some tools, give you some self-reflection moments. And I really thought that self-reflection was important for today's show, because there's a lot of people that when I spoke to people within the last week, matter of fact, I realized that people don't like to do self-reflection. It's easy to point the finger. And we all know that. When it's time to point fingers, we like, yup, you did it, you did this, you did that. It's easy to point that out, but when you got to look at yourself and you're like, ooh, but I did that. It's my fault, I did that. Then I really want us to take a deeper dive into how we can become a healthier, well-rounded, resilient person, or people, sorry. So down in the chat, while you're thinking about the resiliency and falling in line, for those of you that are in the military or that know military, usually when you hear fall in line, that means you do whatever you're ordered to do. When they say fall in line, that means when they're talking about, you better get wherever they tell you to be. If they tell you to be at parade rest, they tell you to be at attention, you better fall in line and you better be ready to go. So usually that means that people are following the rules just so they can avoid getting in trouble. So how many people have you've done that at some point in your life? You followed the rules, you've done the speed limit, just so you don't get in trouble. You've not spanked your children in public, just so you don't get in trouble. Whatever that may be, you took the time to not do it so you wouldn't get in trouble. Give me 1 second. Let me. Someone else had asked me to invite them, so let me do that before I forget. I'm so sorry. Oh goodness. All right. So, thank y'all for being patient with me. So, when you're talking about resiliency, without resiliency, there is no strength. Meaning that we have to go through some story days before we can get to those glory days. Okay, does that make sense? For those of us that are churchy a little bit, you grew up in a church, you understand what I'm saying. You have to go through some things in order to find out where your strength is. You got to go to the gym and work out in order to find out how strong your physical muscles are. So what makes you think that your resilient muscles aren't the same? We have to, it's the backbone for all of our virtues. So all of the things, all of our experiences, resiliency should be your backbone. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Y'all let me know in the chat if that makes sense. So with that being said, whenever you're going through challenging situations, you have to be very strategic. It's almost like playing chess with your life, right? Very strategic on how you're going to go about bouncing back from it. Because if not, it seems like you're going to hit back to back to back. And then that is where usually people end up having things like breakdowns, mental breakdowns, physical ailments that come about. All these different things is because we have not mastered the resilient aspect. So I'm going to press on for time's sake. And whenever you're looking at your life and where you're currently sitting, your first step would be to look at your own visions and your core values, the things that are important to you, things that you consider to be very, to be the core of who you are. And then say, okay, now the world is constantly changing, right? Every day we have another opportunity to become better, to change the way that we think, we operate, the way that we speak, the way that we handle business. We have the opportunity to change. And so with that being said, you're looking at yourself, and then the next thing you say is, how can I implement change? How can I become better? And usually whenever I am dating or out with someone and they are asking, well, how did you get to be who you are? And I said, every day that I look at myself, and I don't necessarily compare, but I look at the women that I think, man, she's doing a good job at being a mother. Man, she's doing a good job at being a wife. Man, she's doing a good job at being a business owner. Man, she's doing a good job at being an inspirational speaker. Whatever that person is, that role model is doing, I'm saying, what can I take from them, take the meat, spit out the bones, in order to become a better person? And so then I look at ways to implement change within myself. So the first thing we should do, or we should consider doing, I shouldn't say should do, because that is forcing it on you, but things that we should consider, if that sounds a little better, is be calm and admit your mistakes. Because we all have mistakes. Whether we want to admit it or not, we all have some type of mistakes. And with those mistakes, we have to either say, yes, I can be better, or no, I can't. Sorry, let me put this on airplane mode. And if we can't become better, why is that? What is a barrier in our thinking that can help us to do better on the next time? So the self thing is usually where you can kind of give yourself some wiggle room. But if you start to look at how you treat others, so how you treat others, look at how you are being resilient with others. And this may be a little challenging. And the reason I say that is because you have to be supportive. What happens when they're not supportive of you? What happens when you're looking for their support and they're not as supportive? Do you stop being supportive? That's a real question, right? And be supportive to your friend, your lover, your children, your co-workers, your classmates, the stranger, the homeless people. How are we being supportive or understanding and resilient in understanding their situations? Okay. allowing people to make mistakes. How many of y'all out there, how many people try to fix everything for someone else? You don't want people to make mistakes, so you try to do it yourself. And why is this a problem? Why is it if we fix everything, why is this a problem? So let me tell you why. This is a problem because we have to allow people to make mistakes so that way they can learn how to make better decisions in the future. When they make those mistakes, you have to say, okay, you want to talk about it, girl? You want to talk about it, homie? Let's see what we can do so we don't have to keep going through these craziness, it doesn't have to become a repetitive cycle. And because failure teaches perseverance. In order for us to be thrust into the future goals and our future problem solving and coping skills, sometimes we have to fail. And failing is not a good feeling, right? Anytime that you make a goal and you fail, you feel like, what did I do that was so wrong, or that I didn't get to meet my goals? What could I have done different? It's about problem solving. And if you are really trying to be a resilient person, problem solving is a part of your day-to-day, right? Your coping skills of when people tell you no, or they tell you that you are less than, or whatever that might be, those are your day-to-day struggles, okay? And so we also should not just tell people when they've done something wrong, or try to correct things whenever we see that it's wrong or not quite up to standard. We praise them when they've done something right. And I know a lot of people that's like, they know they did good. They know they good, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, did you tell them that they good? I know a lot of people that have children, because I do not, but I even do this for my godchildren. I'm like, so did they get, the day before they got a sad face, or the next day they got a happy face? I'm like, when you picked them up, did you say, oh my gosh, look, you did such a good job. I'm so excited for you. Oh my gosh. High five, high five. Okay, let's go. All right. Are we celebrating the goods? Are we celebrating the wins? Even if it's your friend who made a bad mistake, maybe gambling, maybe relationships. What are we doing to celebrate them when they make the right decisions? Right? And we are still telling them, girl, I know you had a rough patch for a minute, but now you're doing so good. And I just wanted to tell you, I am so stinking proud of you. How often do you hear that from your friends, your family, people that you don't even know? And what makes it so funny is we hear it more so from people that we don't know more than the people that we do. Why? Why is that? How have we gotten to that place to where we don't know how to appreciate the people in our lives? When there's someone who yesterday thought they were going to have time today to do it. Do it today. Make it a priority today. All right. So this next one I'm going to talk about, y'all, I'm just brace yourself. Manage your emotions. Manage your emotions. Say it with me. Manage your emotions. So once again, when we talked about people who have wronged you or have done something that wasn't quite up to standard, manage your emotions. So all emotions, even the ones that we don't like to talk about, right? Manage those emotions. Because it is important for you to admit that you have those emotions, and that we should verbalize and say, I don't want to talk right now because I will be talking out of anger, and that's not fair to you, so give me a moment to calm down, right? Being able to be very open and honest and transparent about our emotions will help to be able to be resilient. But first we have to be able to identify when those emotions are off, or when we're having those days where our emotions are out of whack. Ladies, they always say we always emotional. That's okay. When it's that time of the month, we're emotional. That's okay. But when we have to admit, right, that we are having those emotional times, it is important for us to set boundaries. And boundaries are not a negative thing. Boundaries are important, so that way we can say, right now is not a good time. That, my dear friend, will save a lot of marriages. That, my dear friend, will save a lot of relationships, friendships, partnerships, business trips, when you manage your emotions. Brainstorm on ways on how we can avoid it. Know what your triggers are. Know what your triggers are. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to ask a couple questions from 1 to 10. I want you to put it down in the chat, okay? 1 being the least that you identify with, 10 being the most that you identify with this question, okay? First question is I tend to bounce back quickly after hard times. Down in there. I tend to bounce back quickly during hard times. All right. 1 to 10. 1 being I don't necessarily identify with that. Or 10 being, yeah, it's easy for me. Okay. Number 2, I have a hard time making it through stressful situations without needing a substance or a person to make me feel better. Substance, alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, food, sweets, all right? A person, you need your mom, you need your friend, you need someone else to pull you out of that. I have a hard time making it through stressful situations without needing what's the key word there? Without needing a substance or a person. 1 being you don't identify, 10 being you absolutely identify. All right, number 3, it does take me it does not take me a long time to recover from a stressful event. Not a situation per se, but an event, meaning somebody cuts you off in traffic, your children misbehaving, they in school, and now you get the phone call, they break something expensive that can't be replaced. Are you able to recover from that stressful event and bounce back? Number 4, I tend to take a long time to get over setbacks in my life, meaning bad money management, bad relationships, poor relationship with your children. I know a lot of people that like to hold on to things. So if you like to hold on to things, this right here would be the areas that you say I identify with. Those of you like myself who you might be upset today and by tomorrow you wake up and it's water under the bridge, then you will be on, okay? Number 5 is I take risks and I experience natural consequences. 10 being, yes, I take those risks and I experience natural consequences, whether it be positive or negative. I take risks and I'm willing to do that. 1 being, I don't take risks, I can't do it. Okay? So when you're talking about those 5 questions, right? When you are thinking about it, whether you put it in the chat or you're thinking about it in your mind, how did you feel? When you're thinking about, do I fall in line with being resilient? Or do I tend to waver off and do my own thing and hope that it's going to work out? So when you talk about falling in line with how you answer the questions, how many of you do it just to avoid getting in trouble, staying out of jail, not breaking up your marriage, not breaking up relationships, not still having a job to pay your bills? So you do it, you fall in line because you want to avoid getting in trouble, or you know that you have obligations that are assigned to it, right? And so because of that, let's look at some tools that you can put in your tool belt, right? That you can have on hand that can help you to continue to be a more resilient person. So number 1, let's talk about being robust. Usually, when you think about robust Italian, they got that extra burst of flavor, right? My job right now is to give you that extra burst of ability to withstand the shocks and the fluctuations that come along with life, because it happens. And when those roller coasters of life come on, what are we doing to be prepared? We allow it to happen, but it does not change your character or your performance. Because there's some people, when life happens, their work performance, it shows, right? Them being a mother, it shows, or a father, it shows. It shows in how we treat other people. Don't let the ways of life change your personality or your performance. Number 2, how rapid are we able to bounce back? And usually most people will have a form of resilience, and it may take a little longer, right? My goal today is to help you to learn how to allow yourself to feel that emotion, but make a conscious decision to change. Make a conscious decision to evolve, right? And If it causes negative energy longer than X amount of time, say, okay, I got to change that. And you have to be realistic with yourself. For me, I give myself 15 minutes. If I'm mad longer than 15 minutes, there's a problem. And I'm like, I have to change the environment. I have to change my energy. I got to call somebody, because then, and there might be times I call my mom, call my best friend. I put on something funny to laugh at, because I'm like, I need to change the environment. I need to change my energy, because I'm still mad. I got a whole attitude, right? And so we have to be honest, right, with whatever we need to do in order to be able to bounce back to the person that we were before that incident, that issue, that phone call, whatever it was that changed that energy, okay? Flexibility. Things don't always happen the way we want them to. I am currently in Texas looking for a home. I did not think that I would still be quote unquote homeless. At this point, I thought that I would have already been in my house, getting settled into Texas, learning everything I needed to know. And yet, I have to be flexible. Things don't happen the way that I anticipated. And that means that there's going to be times in our resilient walk that we have to be flexible. It's not always going to work out the way that we want it to. When it doesn't work out the way that we want it to, what can we do in order to get it there? Like we talked about before, go back, brainstorm, looking some problem solving, some coping skills, right? Learning, always finding a way to learn. Just like a flower in soil, it had to learn its way. It had to create pathways for its roots to grow in order for it to grow up to meet the sun. Learn ways on how you can continue to grow. Connectiveness. So like I said, those are your people that you use in your tool belt when you can't get through it yourself. You call your people, your friends, your team, right? My Mary Kay team, I call Miss Gina whenever I'm having these moments. My mom when I'm having these moments and I'm still trying to grow and develop myself. You utilize your connectedness and those that are inclusive to your circle in order for you to continue to grow. So inclusion, meaning that you are in the room, that you're a part of the team on all facets, all levels of the conversation. Make sure that it's not just the ones that we're comfortable in. And that is important when you're trying to grow and become resilient. Why? Why is it important for you to be outside of your comfort zone when it's time for you to grow, right? And because without it, it puts us at a bad place. It puts us at a place where we are not learning about ourselves. We're not becoming bigger and better, and we're not becoming more robust. We're not becoming we're not at a place of rapid change, and we're able to flow with it. And because of that, I really wanted to, I know my time is short, I really wanted us to use some of those tools in our tool belt and say, when I'm having a day, I'm going to make this phone call, and either they going to be like, I don't need your opinion, I just need you to hear, I just need a vent. Cool. Or I need your opinion about something. We got to be upfront whenever we're calling these people. So if you're one of those that get offended when people offer their advice, you need to make sure that you stay ahead of it and say, hey, I'm calling. I need 5 minutes to vent. And then they say, okay. Now, if they say, do you want my advice? You still have that option to say, no, I don't want advice right now. I just needed to get that off my chest. They say, okay. All right, suck it up. So, with that being said, that is my time. I hope that tonight's show, I pray that it led you to become a more well-rounded, a more robust, a more flexible, one that is always learning on how to become how to become resilient in the response of falling in line with resiliency. So, if this has been a blessing to you, if I said something you enjoy this style of teaching, I pray that you would continue to like, share, and subscribe. Tag someone in the comment section. Let them know to come on in, come and join in on the fun. We will be back. We will be back on, do y'all know? Because we said every 2 weeks. Deanna. We'll be back on the 12th of September. Same time, same place, but this time I am bringing the talented, the amazing, the one and only Mr. James Sears. He is an author, advocate. He is a poet. He is a natural, amazing man who is a retired Navy, and he has so much to share. So I asked the gentleman to come on to give some of his resiliency and how some of the things in life that made him the man that he is, and it was due to resiliency. So we're going to talk to him. So of course on the 12th we will have a little bit of a longer show, which means we will have an hour-long show on the 12th of September. So either get yourself together, put it on, make dinner, eat dinner, have it in the background, that's okay. Just make sure that you join us on the 12th of September as we have Mr. James Sears, who is we call him James the Speaker, back in my poetry days, and talking about how resiliency has changed him. And if you do not know, make sure that you follow Real Resilient Conversations on all aspects, following Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We will be switching over to add to a different panel here soon. But until then, these are the two that we usually show up on, also on YouTube. But the two that we do live is Instagram and Facebook. It will be available later on tonight on YouTube if you have not had the opportunity to watch. If you have anything, please make sure that you email me at realresilientconversations@gmail.com if you have topics you would like for us to discuss. And I would love, love, love to be able to share your ideas with the rest of the world. So make sure that you are here. Trust me, it is going to be one that is here to bless your soul, and not just from Quita's perspective, but let some of the men get a male perspective on that, all right? So until then, same time, same place, with the same face, same smile, I pray that you are blessed, safe, happy, joy is restored, peace is restored, happiness is your overflow. Until then, love, peace, and hair grease, because this is the last time y'all seen this hairdo, baby. Love, peace, and hair grease. I will see y'all in 2 weeks on the 12th of September. See you soon. Look, y'all, stay with me, okay? Stay with me.